Hello, Year 4 lovelies, and not so lovelies, obviously. Mr. Sheffield here with week 11. If I had another finger, I'd put it up there. Week 11 of your home learning with White Rose Maths. Going to get straight into it today, but before we do that, make sure you've got yourself a delicious cup of tea, and make sure you've made your family a cup of tea as well. It's really going to help you with your learning. Now, this week is all about angles, angles and shape. So angles are a measure of turn, measure how much something has turned round. Okay, so angles can be, if you've got two lines that are like this, you can measure the angle between them by how much one line would have turned to get to the other one. Now you're thinking that the distance between the two lines might be an angle. Well, I guess you could kind of think of it like that, but we're looking at the actual how much something has turned, because the distance between these two angles changes if it's closer, or it's two lines changes if it's closer or further away. And you measure distance with a ruler. You don't measure distance, you don't measure angles with a ruler. You measure that with a protractor. Anyway, so an angle is how much something has turned, and we're going to look at three types of angles for the first lesson. The first one is an acute angle. Acute angles are less than 90 degrees. They're quite small. And you can remember that by going, oh, they're such cute angles. So acute angles, quite small. Okay, 90-degree angles, though, they're the right angles that you might find on the corner of a book, for example. So here's the book that I'm reading for the stories. Here is a right angle. It is right at the corner here, or you can even see in the video, let me just, here's a right angle right there. It is 90 degrees. Here's another right angle right here. This is 90 degrees. It's when the two lines are absolutely perfectly perpendicular to each other. Okay, so when the lines are crossing each other at right angles. So imagine just a multiplication symbol or a plus symbol, corner of a book, corner of a computer screen, anything like that. That is a right angle. Now, an obtuse angle is where the angle is bigger than 90 degrees. Okay, so you start out with your cute angle, it's lovely little cute angle, and then you go to 90 degrees, which is the corner of something square or rectangular. And then finally, your obtuse angle is anything from 90 degrees all the way, I can't bend my hands that way, all the way to a flat 180 degrees. Okay, so obtuse angles, they're like big obtuse angle, I'm an obtuse angle, I'm really big. Tiny little cute angle. And then you've got your very regimented right angles there. Okay, so the first lesson, the first day, is all just about identifying angles. So you've got some work on identifying which one of these are acute angles, because they're tiny little cute angles, which one of them are obtuse angles, because they're really big and they do this when they're walking around, and which ones of them are right angles, so they're exactly 90 degrees. There is one more angle called a reflex angle, but we don't need to worry about that in year 4. It's when it's bigger than 180 degrees. So let's do my book like this. Okay, so my book is going to turn. Let's do it like this, and it's still an acute angle. It's still an acute angle because it's still nice and cute. And then it doesn't get cute anymore because it's revealed my face. Now it's a right angle like this. And as it goes bigger and bigger and bigger, you can see I'm turning it because we're measuring it. It's still obtuse, and now it's 180 degrees. Okay, that means it is a flat angle. Okay, it's 180 degrees. But as you go beyond 180 degrees, that's when it starts becoming a reflex angle. And you don't have to worry about that this year. Anyway, so day 1, all about identifying the angles, which ones are acute, which one of them are right angle, and which one of them's doing it again, which ones of them are obtuse. Okay, so if you need to use your little hand actions, little acute angles, some right angles, or some obtuse angles, that might be helpful for you. Okay, lesson 2 kind of carries on from there. It's all about, all about ordering the angles. So it's comparing two angles. Which one is the bigger angle? Which one has turned more? Okay, so think about it as if you're at this point here. That's a really good way to start off. Think about where you are. Think about being on that point exactly there. And you're facing one way, and you've had to turn to face this line instead. Okay, so imagine your hands are out in front of you, and you start at the corner, and you have to turn to get to the other line. Okay, how much have you had to turn in these cases? Which one is the bigger angle? Well, I'm going to give you the answer right now. This one here is the bigger angle. If I started facing one way, point A, I'd only have to turn a little bit, but point B, I'd have to turn quite a lot in order to face the other way. Okay, so again, identifying obtuse, acute angles, right angles. You might have to draw some angles, but it's about putting angles in order of size, comparing them, and that kind of thing there. I think you should find this quite easy because you can just do it by looking at it. You don't have to do any calculations in your head. Right, lessons 3 and 4 deal with polygons. Now, polygons, when I say polygon, I mean a shape that has many corners. It comes from two Greek words, actually. The first Greek word is polus. I think I'm pronouncing that right, polus. And that means many. So poly means many. And gonia is corner or angle. So polygon basically comes from polus gonia in Greek, which basically means many sides, many corners, many angles. Okay. So the first one is tick the polygons. Which ones are shapes that have many corners? Now I'm saying that word particularly, corners, angles, because some of these shapes do not have corners. Some of these shapes do not have corners that we can measure. So they're still 2D shapes, but some of them we won't be able to measure the corners of. We won't be able to measure the angles. Anyway, the third day is mostly about triangles. So we've got which ones of these are triangles. So if you are, let's say if you're like 4 years old and you're starting to recognize your shapes, 3, 4 years old, you should be able to do this one here. Some of them are not triangles. Remember, the key thing to triangles is that they have 3 straight edges. Okay, so some of these do not have 3 edges. Some of them do not have straight edges. Just giving you a little clue there. You've got some reasoning questions, which you guys are absolutely bossing at the moment. You're doing really, really well with those. And some matching thing. Now, you've got 3 types of triangle here. Okay, so we might have touched on this last year, but there's 3 main types of triangle. There's the equilateral triangle. Equilateral. So the clue there is equal. All of the sides are exactly the same length, and all of the angles in the triangle are exactly the same. So here, we've got an equilateral triangle, because each of the sides is labelled as a little line, which means it's the same size as one of these other ones. So an equilateral triangle, all the sides are the same length, all the angles in each of the corners are the same as well. There's an isosceles triangle. So this one here, I'm going to zoom in. This one here, 2 of the sides are the same length, but one of them is not. So this one here and this one here, those lines are the same length. This one is not the same. Okay, so, oh, here we go. Here's an equilateral triangle, all the sides are the same length. Here's an isosceles triangle, only 2 of the sides are the same length. That also means that these 2 angles right at the bottom here, they are the same as well. And the very final type of triangle that we're going to be looking at is a scalene triangle. Now, a scalene is like the leftover ones. It's the ones that all the sides and all the angles are different. Either the sides are different lengths, the angles are different measures of turn. Okay, so let me try and find, this one maybe looks like a scalene one here. But then, you know, if you turn yourself sideways, maybe it's an isosceles triangle, we don't know. So some of these shapes you might have to sort of just turn your head or turn the page if you print them out to give yourself an idea of which ones are scalene, which ones are isosceles, which ones are equilateral. Brilliant. Okay, so that's day 3. Day 4, your final day. Luckily, oh, look at this. Day 3 deals with triangles because there's 1, 2, 3 sides in a triangle. Day 4 deals with quadrilaterals, which have 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. What an absolute amazing coincidence that is. So, we've got 5 different shapes here. A rhombus, a parallelogram, a trapezium, a rectangle, and a square. Now, the White Rose videos will go into more detail, and they'll be able to show you some nice visualizations of which each of these shapes are. But basically, a square, all sides the same length, all angles the same. A rectangle, you've got 2 pairs of equal length sides, so you might have 2 long sides and 2 short sides, but again, they're all right angles inside there. Trapezium is kind of like this, so it's like a wedge almost. You've got 2 sides which slope into each other, and then 2 parallel sides as well. Parallelogram is kind of like a rectangle that's been just pushed over to its side a little bit, and a rhombus is like a square that has been pushed over to its side. Okay, so a rhombus is a special type of parallelogram, a square is a special type of rectangle, that kind of thing. Anyway, there's some questions about quadrilaterals. There's a table for you to fill in, but as I said, the White Rose videos that go on the website will be they'll be so much better at being able to explain things, because I've had to use books and rulers and my hands, and you don't want to look at me all day. So, as always, Mr. Turner will be giving you an extra special challenge with a video. And if you do have any questions, email us into email, check the videos, put a question on the blog, all those kind of normal things. We're almost there. Almost there. You're doing a fantastic job. We've only got 1 more week of home learning after this. But really, 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 really well done. Really, really proud of you. Keep it up, guys. And carry on doing what you're doing. See you later.